Exploration company Volcanic Gold Mines has been able to secure several very interesting gold projects in Guatemala. We're talking to CEO Simon Ridgway today to hear more about this exciting story. Simon, good to talk to you.
Good, thanks for the invitation, Bjorn.
Now, Simon, with junior exploration companies, it's always important to know who is in charge. Goes for Volcanic in particular, as you yourself only took over as CEO a couple of days ago. Please give us a short summary of your experience in the mining industry, but especially in Guatemala. And also shortly, please introduce to our audience your new in-country exploration manager.
Yeah, well, I took over, I founded the company. And previously Charles Straw was CEO, president of the company, but he's an Australian, and these days people in Australia can't travel, as none of us can. So I decided to step back in as CEO myself. But I was the founder of the company, and I've known this ground that we have in Guatemala for a long time. So I'll back up a little bit and get into that. So I've been in the mining industry since about 1994, 95. I'm not a geologist, I'm a prospector financier. I started got my feet on the ground in the Yukon territory up in northern Canada and began prospecting there. And then sometime in the very early 90s, 91, 92, I decided to branch out into Latin America. I had some success vending my projects to companies on the Vancouver Stock Exchange, and watching them do the work, I decided I could finance my own company and do the work myself and do a better job. So I did that, founded a company, I went to Venezuela initially, and I was in Venezuela for a few years. Luckily, there was a big gold rush into Venezuela in 93, 94, and I was there with a big land position. So, I decided to sell up and move out into Central America. The reason for that was because, as a prospector, you like rocks, and Venezuela was all saprolite and clays. The rocks are all eroded, so you really can't take a rock hammer to anything down there. And all the time I was running that company, I would fly back up from Venezuela to Vancouver to follow quarterly reports. I was pretty much the only guy in the company. So flying over Central America and seeing all those volcanoes and active, and rocks you could actually prospect, I decided that's where to locate myself. So in 94, I sold out in the company I'd taken to Venezuela, but I did very well. So did the shareholders I brought in. And I took over a company called Mar West and went to live in Honduras. From 94 through to 98, 99 in Central America, I explored in Honduras, in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. And actually, I found mines in most of those countries. I found the San Martin mine in Honduras and sold that to a production company. I found the Cerro Blanco mine in Guatemala, which is now being built by Bluestone, a Lundin company, but I sold it to Goldcorp way back when. Found the San Martin deposit in southern Mexico, which Fortuna, I founded for Fortuna Silver, I founded Fortuna Silver with Jorge Ganosa and Mario Shortlander, and I'm still the chairman of that company. It's a New York listed mining company with a market cap of about 1.5 to 2 billion Canadian, with mines in Argentina, the San Jose mine in Mexico, and a mine in Peru. And then after that, I went back, I sold those projects and then went back into Guatemala and began exploring Guatemala again in 2010 to 2011. And I've jumped back and forth. The government in Guatemala, it became anti-mining about that time. They were pushing to shut down mines. And so I held the ground position I had in the country and went elsewhere, went to Mexico, basically with Radius Gold. But I held the ground I had in Guatemala from that time till now, during that anti-mining period. Late last year, the government of Guatemala changed and we're pro-mining now. They've seen, as you see from the caravans of people that are streaming up from Central America to the States, that there's always in the news these days. There was another one a few days ago. People in Guatemala want work. Then the press is always saying that they're fleeing the violence. That's not the case. They want an economy. They see, you know, people living decent lives up in North America, and they want that. They want jobs. They want to earn money. They want to respect. They don't want to continue with this subsistence living that goes on in these countries endlessly. So the new government in Guatemala is pro foreign investment, pro development, pro mining. They want to see their population work. So I went back into Guatemala. I held the ground in Radius Gold. So I had a vehicle, shell vehicle in my office, Volcanic Gold, which had actually been exploring in Guinea, in Africa, and had minimum success there. Tough country to work in. So the Volcanic Gold had no assets. So I decided to, Radius has had quite a bit of success in Mexico. So I decided to step out of Radius, put Bruce Smith, my VPX, to run that company. He's the one that's finding all the properties there, and to put the Guatemalan holdings into Volcanic and go back to the ground and make some more discoveries in this country. It's very prospective ground.
Well, I certainly hope so. It certainly looks like from what I read so far. Yeah, but before we start talking about the volcanic projects, just tell us a bit more about Guatemala. Well, we've seen the pictures you've been talking about, or you alluded to, but to many investors, it may sound like an exotic destination for mining.
Not really. It's, you know, it's got great geology, same geology as a Mexican gold silver belt. It just travels down into Guatemala. Difference is this Guatemala has not been explored. When I first went into Guatemala in 1998, they were just putting a mining law together. Historically, there had been no mines in Guatemala. Some nickel mines, some base metal mines, but certainly no, and some zinc mines, but no precious metal mining at all in the country. So nobody really explored it. Why, I don't know. Can't really answer that. It's a great country, actually, not good. The southern part of Guatemala is a volcanic belt. It's very, very prospective, the same potential as Mexico. It is the same volcanic belt as Mexico. The infrastructure is excellent. There's roads all over the place, mostly paved. So there's good access to all the areas. Out east, where we are in the eastern Guatemala, close to the border with El Salvador and Honduras, people are Latin, they're very friendly, they're very pro-investment, they want work. It's good ground for growing, but you know, for the most part, it's subsistence living out there. People growing rice and beans and living on that. There are some farms, obviously, some farm areas, but not a great deal. No, it's not exotic. It's a good place to work. Okay. I've been speaking Spanish for a few decades. That's their language. A straightforward cowboy country. Okay,
well, great to hear that. Let's talk about the projects then. Starting first with the Holly project.
Okay, yeah, well, basically it's one large land position. We have about 300,000 hectares of the volcanic belt. There's two mines being built in the area. Escobal mine is owned by Pan American Silver, and to the south, the Cerro Blanco mine, which I found many years ago and sold, that is presently being built right now. All the area of the volcanic belt from Escobal to the border with Honduras and El Salvador is under application is owned by Volcanic's got the right to enter all that property. There's two main target areas that are granted concessions. That's the Holly, you mentioned, is one target, and the other is a very large bimodal volcanic complex at the Banderas property, which is a very large property. The Holly property is an east-west structure. The biggest discovery in recent years in the area has been the Escobal mine, owned by Pan American Silver now. They discovered about 300 million ounces of silver on an east-west structure that's a splay off the Yucatan Fault. The Holly property has the Yucatan Fault itself staked. It is a very topographic higher ridge where the volcanic rocks are intruded, but a full contact with old schistose rocks. And the ridge along that contact is a big silicified breccia zone that is run strongly anomalous in gold for about 2 kilometers. I had this property since 2003 when we did the initial work on it. And at that point, on the ridge top that we identified all these north-south trending narrow veins, and we put some drill holes into those veins and got some very, very good results. Some, multi-ounce drill holes and lower grade, broad lower grade intercepts. We couldn't find continuity on those zones though. So in 2004, we held the ground since then, but we haven't worked on it since. After the discovery of the Escobal, it came clear to me that the east-west structure is what we should have been drilling, not these north-south veins. So we've gone back into that area, and we will start drilling in about a month, testing the Yucatan fault itself, and probably in the areas where these high-grade north-south veins cut across. So we would drill at the intersect of those two structures is where we'd be testing this system.
Okay. Well, it certainly sounds good, and a month isn't that far away, so we'll be looking forward to see the drills turning. Can you give us a bit more of an idea what kind of work program that is going to be, what kind of drill program?
It'll be better. I mean, basically, the targets is pretty straightforward on the Holly. We've done enough soil and rock sampling over the years to know exactly where we're going to drill. It'll be about a 5,000 meter drill program should make or break the Holly project. I'm very optimistic we'll have a discovery there. I've known the property for a long time, had it for a long time. I'm well aware of where we need to put those holes, and I'm very optimistic. We need to drill deep. We need to drill about 5,000 meters. And I think with that, we should have some very good success. Yeah, so on the Holly property, we're going to be, as I said, in chasing those previous good drill holes we had, such as hole 5, which we turned 3.6 meters of 22 grams gold and 700 grams silver, and hole 1, which we turned 14.5 meters of 4.5 grams gold and 150 grams silver. And those two drill holes are separated by about 700 meters, and they've had no follow-up. So the ridge itself, the strong anomalous target, is about 1.5 kilometers long. So there's lots of room there for a good discovery with those kind of grades. I think we'll be drilling up we have a great shot at drilling up a high-grade deposit here on the Holly property. Okay,
well, certainly looking forward to hearing how that works. Now, you already mentioned the second project there, the Banderas project, I think.
The Banderas property. Yeah. So the Banderas property is about 15 kilometers south of the Holly property, and it's a large volcanic complex. And by that, I mean, you have bimodal volcanics, which is a great place to look for gold, where you have felsic intrusives and felsic volcanics and intermediate volcanics. The Banderas property covers an area of about 25 square kilometers. We've taken thousands of rock and soil samples on this project over the years, and there's been about 30 holes drilled on it previously, but it is a strong belief of mine that we were just way too high in the system. We need to drill deeper. But the Escobal mine, a property that is 30 kilometers to the east of the Holly and Banderas, it's a large discovery. I actually found that vein back in 2002, 2003, but didn't drill deep enough. Some years later, Goldcorp came in and put some deeper holes in and found a very high grade and very large silver deposit. So I do not want to make that mistake again. So on the Banderas property, we've taken thousands of rock samples on the property over the years. And when I look at them now, when you go to the southern end of the property, the lowest elevation, we're finding mercury with the gold rocks down there. Now, mercury is usually very high in the system. And we're at about 700 meters above sea level at that elevation. Most of the drilling was done at about 1,000 meters of elevation, way further up this large volcanic complex. So we need to drill deeper. The structures there's three structures: the Zapote structure, the Pyramid Hill structure, and the M28. They're three parallel structures, and they each run for about 3 kilometers. Rock sampling along all of those three trends has been, consistently anomalous in gold and silver, with some very high-grade rock samples. All of the drilling was done probably from 900 meters to 1,000 meters elevation. And the holes were all shallow, about 150 meters deep. Way down at the southern end of those structures, as I said, we're finding the gold numbers down there have mercury. The gold rocks down there have mercury antimony with them on the same structures. And that's at about 700 meters elevation. I still think we're a bit high down there, even though we're getting, very large boulders running 7-8 grams gold and 150, 200 grams silver. And they're high in mercury. As I said, mercury is high in this system. So I think that is the very top of the productive system. So we need to drill 200 or 300 meters. When we climb up the hills again, we need to go deeper. Drilling at the southern end of the trend where we're getting consistent numbers in the rock, we need to start drilling there and define what is the productive elevation of this system. And then we have 10 kilometers of structure to drill.
Okay.
It's a very exciting target. I think we'll have a lot of success in Banderas. The more data you get, the more times you worked on these properties, the more data, the more you can put it together. So at first, we chased all the rocks up the hill and drilled at the top of the hill. Now we know we need to go down the hill, drill deeper.
Okay. Well, certainly sounds exciting. 10 kilometers, there's a lot of room for discovery there.
There's a lot of room for discovery, and we, the permit for the Banderas will be a few months away, so we'll start on the Holly. By the time we finish drilling on the Holly, will be time to drill on the Banderas. So, from February on, there'll be drills turning on the volcanic properties for the rest of this year. The company's well financed. We have $13 million in the treasury that I raised. The burn rate at the moment is pretty low, but once we start drilling, that will finance a lot of drill holes.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we've never done historically. We've never gone into this property with a well-financed company. And it was, back in the Radius days, we were forever trying to protect the budget. Now, when we know we need to drill, to make a discovery, you need lots of drill holes. We have the funds to do it.
That's certainly true. That the saying goes, the truth is in the drill bit. You have a lot of work to do there, but a lot of, as we said, a lot of potential also. Let's talk a bit about, you said you have talked about the size of the land.
Yeah, we have a large, we've got 300,000 hectares of the active volcanic belt of Guatemala that has never been explored except by us. From 2000, when I went in the country initially, we started, there's no history of mining in the country, so there's really no history of gold prospectors at all. So virgin country, we started off by doing stream sediment sampling over this broad area and identified a lot of targets. Very quickly, we made discoveries. We made the Escobal vein we found, and we found the Cerro Blanco mine. So quickly we focused in on those discoveries and developed those. And all of the other target areas, we didn't really follow up. We have that whole database from the time when Radius went back in there after we'd sold Mar West and continued with that same regional work. So thousands of stream sediment samples throughout this broad area, 300,000 hectares, lots of rock samples, lots of anomalies and other target areas that have never been followed up that we need to get to work on. Initially we'll focus on the drilling, but as we're doing that, we will have exploration teams going out and looking at all these other areas that we previously identified and didn't do follow-up. There's no point in naming them. They're pretty early stage, but they've all got stream sediment anomalies and rock samples on them where we've identified the target zone and have never done any further work on them. So that's very exciting targets as well. That will keep us busy for sure.
I was going to say that you've a lot of work to do there, and you won't run out of work for quite a while.
No, we won't. We're still growing the team. Okay. Matt Booth, who's the country manager, who's got significant experience, is very good in 3D modeling, with data management, and keeping everything on track. So we're going to have several teams working in different parts of the country. So Matt is the ideal person to take on the country manager position and oversee that and work with the various high-tech programs to start looking at depth in these from all the drilling we've done, and to put that all in 3D and roll it around so we know where to put the next drill holes.
Okay, well, exciting times for Volcanic Gold Mines, of course. Well, to sum up, we talked about the country, we talked about your projects. So in your personal opinion, give us a short summary of why should people have a look at the company right now?
Well, I think it's, as I've shown previously by entering Guatemala when I did, there are big mines to be found here. We have a huge land position tied up. The country's pro-mining and we're well financed. We're trading about, more than 60% of our share price is by the cash we have in the treasury. So the enterprise value of Volcanic with the land position we have, I think is an excellent play. So there's always risk in investing in exploration. That's why I love it, because with risk comes a huge upside. And I believe that's what Volcanic has.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a very good closing remark. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us, Simon. For anyone else looking for more information on Volcanic Gold Mines, please go to www.volgold.com, or you can go to the profile section at goldinvest.de, where we'll also find lots of information on the company.